Welcome to the Fleet Geeks podcast. We're here to help develop fleet and transport professionals. Do you want to progress and develop your skills and knowledge? We promise to bring lively conversation and debate around interesting issues and keep you bang up to date with changes in our awesome industry. The Fleet Geeks are a community of professionals, and if you enjoy the podcast, why not join the discussion for free in the Fleet Geek community over on Facebook. So the red light's rolling and we're live. It's Mike and Chris from Waitmans. How are we doing, Chris?
Yeah, doing well, thanks. Nice. Recording this on an afternoon where it's dark and miserable in the middle of November, so it's doing well apart from that.
Good, yeah. It's pretty dark and miserable here in Peterborough. I normally say sunny Peterborough. How's things with you, Mike?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, very good. Thank you. Yes, it's busy old time of the year. We were just saying that before we came on air, weren't we? It's all go at the moment. Looking forward to a Christmas break, though. I think that's well deserved.
Absolutely.
And we're honoured to have Chris from Waitmans join us today. So, Chris, just for the listeners, you introduce yourself. Tell people a bit about yourself.
Yeah, certainly. So I'm a road transport regulatory solicitor. So basically anything to do with trucks or buses on the regulatory side. So I represent haulage and bus companies at Traffic Commissioner public inquiries and preliminary hearings, help operators out during DVSA investigations, anything that effectively can go wrong. I'm usually the person people often call, and I also work with a wider team where we deal with a lot of fleet risk generally. So that's just the trucks and the buses. That's also the grey fleet and the smaller vehicles. So it's never a dull moment.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think if people want to hear more from Chris specifically, we did do a podcast together, didn't we, on a half dozen things. So people can always refer back to that one as well. But this time we're here on shorter format podcast, and we're going to be talking about third party trailers. Which is a bit of a hot topic in PIs at the moment, right?
You could certainly say that. It's a strange one, isn't it? Because where the transport industry is now compared to where it was just 5-10 years ago on this subject is, it's so different. We've had the enormous explosion of e-commerce, and obviously COVID's had a huge impact on that. We've all had our Amazon delivery vans coming round, haven't we? But of course, for them to get the delivery vans have to pick up from somewhere, the RDCs, and so there's a huge number of these big internet operators with these enormous fleets of trailers, where the model is quite often a lot of small and sometimes really quite small operators, sub 10 vehicles, or medium-sized operators, pulling these trailers on behalf of these big outfits. And I was at a public inquiry representing, it was about a year and a half ago, probably maybe a little bit more, and the traffic commissioner at the time said that my client had just started this line of business, having moved from something completely different, and had got themselves a little bit unstuck. And the traffic commissioner quite rightly made the point that when you're pulling third-party trailers as traction-only operator, it's just about one of the most challenging types of operation that you can do as an operator, because fundamentally every single day your drivers are picking up trailers that don't belong to you, and they're maintained by somebody else. You might be dropping and swapping 2 or 3 a day. You might be in the business of collecting trailers that are coming in through the ports unaccompanied, and as soon as you hitch them up, or your driver hitches them up to your vehicle and you take them on the road, you're responsible for them, and the buck stops with you. If something goes wrong, it's your trailer that you're operating. It doesn't really matter how long you've had it or who owns it. And so this is unsurprisingly why the commissioners have been focusing so much on it, because a lot of people are getting unstuck, because it can be very easy to set up a haulage business and start doing this sort of stuff. But there has to come with it the appreciation that there's a huge amount of responsibility on you as the operator and as the transport manager, managing this to make sure it's done properly. I don't know, have you guys come across this yourself much?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing just to clear up right at the start, Chris, if you wouldn't mind for our listeners, we see this question crop up a lot. If they're an operator, traction only, they still definitely need at least one trailer on their operator's license or authority. I don't know why, but a lot of people believe that that's not the case. But if you could just go through that with us first, Chris, that would be quite useful.
Yeah, so this is another one that does catch people out, because the instinct is you think it's not my trailer, therefore when I come to go on my Vol system and I say, well, how many vehicles and trailers I've got, you say I've got 25 vehicles and 0 trailers. But of course, you if that were the case, your tractor units would be driving around, for no purpose. Actually, you've got to specify the trailers that you're actually operating, and that might mean all of the trailers that you're operating, even if they're third-party trailers. And because again, it all comes back to responsibility. So if you've got 10 lease trailers, you've got to specify the 10 vehicles. If you've got far more than that, you specify the ones that you use, which could be a very sizable number. Which again is something DVSA do ask about. It's something I've experienced when operators have had earned recognition audits, so they've been picking up things like this.
Okay, one of my questions I had, Chris, was how have the operators you've seen at Public Inquiry managed the documentation and evidencing of maintenance of third-party trailers?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's been I'd say it's been an evolution, because over the last couple of years, I've noticed certainly that a lot of the larger trailer owners, the large .com companies, have moved from a position where they just haven't really thought about this to having to actually engage with the operator to come up with something that works, like you're describing. And actually, if you go to the Guide to Maintaining Roadworthiness, the words used are something like, an operator is expected to work with the trailer owner. And that means, as a transport manager, you have to be able to set up a system, no matter how it works, so that you have the information you need. So you need to know, for example, does that trailer have an up-to-date MOT? Is there an up-to-date safety inspection? Is the inspection signed off as roadworthy? Are there any outstanding defects? Has it had a meaningful brake test? All of this stuff that you have to have a way of finding out. And in a sense, the regulator, the traffic commissioner, doesn't really mind how you do that, so long as you can do that. So I know some operators have an arrangement where their driver can scan a QR code on a trailer and it pulls up on their PDA everything they need to know about it. Sometimes it's more the old-fashioned, an actual copy of all of the paperwork on the trailer, so the driver can pick it up and go through it and see everything's up to date, see they're happy before they take responsibility for that trailer. But however you do it, I suppose that's between the operator or the transport manager and the trailer owners.
Hi, it's Pete from Flagship Partners. We're really proud to sponsor the Fleet Geeks podcast. Flagship Partners offer a range of consultancy and training services to ensure that our customers remain compliant and have the best possible knowledge to be able to fulfill their work. If you're interested in support with any of our safety, HR or compliance services, or you want to train to be a transport manager or need driver CPC training, give us a call today.
I think one of the things we've seen, one of the challenges we've seen is operators with trailers that may not come from or originated in the UK. Those foreign operators may not have the same level of maintenance arrangements or the same sort of organisation that we've got, and that adds another dimension to the challenge, I would think, Chris.
Oh, absolutely, and I mean, there's no two ways about it. We have amongst the highest standards in the world in the UK for maintenance, and I've come across cases, some quite recently, where operators who collect unaccompanied trailers finally, after a long time, actually ask the question, well, how often are these trailers inspected? And they find out it's maybe twice a year. But of course, then of course the transport managers faced with the awkwardness of having declared on their vol system that their trailers that they're operating are being done every 10 weeks, maybe at the same time as the trucks, but is actually, you know, closer to 150 odd days. So it is a problem, and it's definitely harder to get that information when you're having to reach abroad and try to engage with maybe a jurisdiction which has a slightly different approach to these things. So some really basic issues is that if all of your maintenance records do get provided, who's to say they're in English? How does a driver understand it necessarily? So this is all I call it a headache, but it's not really a headache. It's a challenge for transport managers, and it makes the job of being a transport manager challenging. And that comes back to exactly what the Traffic Commissioner was saying at that public inquiry I was at. It is a difficult line of business.
Okay, it's interesting that you said the Traffic Commissioner hasn't specified how the transport manager has to manage that relationship, just that they do have to manage it. Can you let us know, in your experience, what may happen to a transport manager who isn't staying on top of those? Maintaining and dealing with the trailers effectively.
So I think you've hit the nail on the head. The way transport regulation and to be honest, a lot of regulation is set out is outcomes focused, in that if it's generating the outcome that transport managers are, that safe vehicles are used safely on the road, trailers are well inspected, and there are no issues, then the mechanics, the regulator doesn't like to get involved in. If, however, something happens, or it turns out that actually, as you say, a transport manager's not really been giving this the thought that it deserves, and DVSA doing a desk-based assessment and ask for all of this evidence of these checks and records, and they're just not to be found, then unfortunately it is a matter of good repute. It's something that a transport manager is deemed to know about. All of the guidance issued by the traffic commissions, the statutory documents, all of that, as soon as it's published, transport managers are deemed to know, ignorance of the law and all of that. So that means it can be grounds for regulatory action, which could look like a public inquiry hearing in front of the traffic commissioner, or at the very least a preliminary hearing. It depends on the circumstance. But I've known transport managers have their good repute lost. I've known transport managers have their good repute tarnished very severely. I've represented at public inquiries where I've been defending transport managers who have been able to say, well, look, I've learnt my lesson, and we've now got these great systems in place, and we're 100% across our trailer maintenance. But is it too little, too late? And that's a facts on each case, really, as to whether the traffic commissioner feels that way or not.
Okay, that's interesting. But the clear bottom line is that the transport manager is your responsibility.
Exactly that. And one other thing I'd say to that is that one of the single most important things you can do is have that relationship with the trailer owner. Make sure you know what the inspection intervals are and that they're properly declared, because the traffic commissioners do consider a misdeclared trailer inspection interval on your vol system as a false declaration. If you're saying it's 10 weeks and it's in fact much longer than that, that's grounds for serious concern. So if nothing else, if you're in this line of work, and you're thinking, you're listening to this and you're doing a stock take and you're thinking, actually, maybe I haven't been giving this the attention it needs. Now's the time to do it, because they are about to, this coming year, going to be revising the guide to maintaining roadworthiness with a lot more robust information on this, a lot more detail. It's already come out in the annual Traffic Commissioners report. So all the messaging is, we're focusing on this issue. So now's the time to be looking at it.
Fantastic.
Absolutely, yeah. And are you aware the guide to maintaining roadworthiness, Chris, you mentioned I think most operators will be quite pleased that the information is going to be more robust, or the guidance is going to be more robust. I think maybe one of the problems at the moment with some guidance is it's a little bit, open to interpretation. So, and any news when we should be seeing a copy of the new guide?
Oh, a good question. I don't think I know the exact date off by heart, but I do agree with you that the existing guidance is, should we say, brief. I mean, I think it's about a couple of paragraphs or something. So there's not a lot to go on at the moment. So I think that's probably been part of the challenge, and I think the recognition is there that it needs to be beefed up. So we should see a fair bit more. The other thing I suppose worth pointing out, and this is something that does come up with third-party trailer cases quite a bit, concerns your driver defect inspections, because of course a driver takes over the vehicle's got to do a walk around check of at the point they take over the trailer. But what if that driver drops and swaps 2 or 3 trailers that day? Well, obviously they've got to do a fresh one for every single trailer. And that should include, for example, the check to make sure that actually they've read the paperwork, and they're happy, they're satisfied that it's all there and that it's signed off and that it can be taken. But sometimes I've dealt with some relatively large operators who still use paper-based systems or even electronic systems, which only allow you to record 1 trailer a day. That's not that uncommon. And so drivers are having to, come up with inventive ways of recording the other ones, which is, a recipe for disaster when it comes to the paperwork or the system. So I suppose as a transport manager, thinking this through and again, outcomes focus, what does my driver need? Do our systems allow it to happen? And should the worst happen, will our systems generate the reports they need to say that actually that driver did check every last one of those trailers, did check that all the MOTs were in date, ticked the box to say that they'd been signed as roadworthy, and on this occasion, when he didn't get that information, he refused to take the vehicle. And then if refused to take the trailer. And if DVSA then come in, do a full audit of you, and you can provide that information, then you're in an awful lot of a better position than you would be otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I came across some data the other day. Mike and I did on a WhatsApp group that we're in of a .com trailer operation that had 186 trailers out of MOT.
Goodness me.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a warning shot to transport managers listening. Anyway, Chris, that's enough on third-party trailers for now. Much appreciated, and you're joining us for much appreciated. But joining us for 2 further podcasts. So we're going to be talking about top PI items for 2022 and what's coming in 2023. So looking forward to those. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Chris. See you on the next
Thanks so much. Cheers, guys.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please share with your friends and colleagues too. Join us for free on Facebook with the Fleet Geeks community for transport and fleet managers. Fleet Geeks offers ongoing professional development, networking and mentoring too. So get in touch with me, Pete Rushmer, on any social media platform to find out more.